This long format video with BPM Wallet is interesting on many levels. First, they are one of the largest grant winners of the XRPL grants, and what they're going to do with that money is interesting with solving a real problem, harnessing the power of Web3, bringing real-world utility to their NFT. If you've ever wanted to apply for an XRPL grant, well, then the 16-minute to the 25-minute mark is very interesting because Chris, the CTO, talks about that process. Then the video wraps up with Chris talking about an X app that he built for the Sum wallet. That would be the wallet that is built by the XRPL Labs group in the Netherlands, led by Wietse Wind. So do enjoy. There's a lot to unpack in this video. Hey, everybody, it's Eddie, and I've got some very special guests with me tonight. This is Chris and Calvin from BPM Wallet, and you're going to find that their project is very unique, and I just welcome them to tell you their story. So, hey guys, thank you for joining me on the channel.
Hi, Eddie. Thank you very much for having us today on your channel. I'm Kelvin Rolfe. I'm one of the co-founders of BPM Wallet. We were one of the recent Wave 4 grantees from XRPL grants, and we received one of the top rewards, which was $200,000. Only a handful of projects have ever received that amount. So yeah, we're really grateful, and hopefully that speaks volumes about our project. What we're building is a ticketing platform, which is essentially an NFT ticketing software for primary ticket companies to use, which will deliver tickets to a user's digital wallet. And we chose the XRPL to do that. The live events industry, as you've probably seen in the news throughout the US, throughout the world, really, there's just been massive issues recently where scalpers are targeting genuine fans and essentially ripping off the fans. So the latest statistics show that 40% of tickets bought in the primary market are then sold in the secondary market for inflated values, right? So 40% are actually bought by bots on behalf of touts, or scalpers, they call them in the US. And they sell them for inflated prices to genuine fans, essentially just ripping off the fans. There's also a huge problem around fraud and counterfeit tickets, where tickets are copied, counterfeited, or the tickets actually are sold but never delivered. There's also a problem actually around duplicate tickets. I mean, just recently there was an event in the UK at an arena, and over 120 tickets were sold for the one seat, for the same seats. They had 120 people turn up for one seat, and they traveled from far and wide, booked hotels, and the scammer had just copied the ticket, resold it over email, a digital ticket, and they printed it off, and over 120 people had turned up with exactly the same ticket for the seat. If say Joe Bloggs buys a ticket in the primary market, they then sell that on. That ticket might actually exchange hands multiple times before the event takes place. By the time it comes to the event, that event don't actually have a clue who is attending. All they've got is the person who bought the ticket in the primary market. Our software, which we're building, will actually address that. And even if the ticket changes hands, the event organizer will know exactly who owns that ticket and who is attending their event. They'll know exactly who is at their event through our KYC process and our verified wallets. Essentially, a ticketing software which primary ticket companies can use. So the likes of Ticketmaster, etc., can actually use our software to deliver NFT tickets to the end user. We are then building a wallet, which is a ticket wallet, which is a digital ticket wallet, which will hold an NFT ticket, which is KYC'd. So to use your ticket, you will be a verified user. If you want to sell that ticket, we'll have a marketplace where you can sell the ticket to other verified users. So it's verified profiles, exchanging tickets, and exchanging payments. So there can't be any scams. There'll be a face value cap, so there'll be no touting. And even if the ticket changes hands, the event organizer will know exactly who owns that ticket. If the event is cancelled, using our software, they'll also be able to refund the correct person. So rather than refunding the tout who's actually already sold the ticket, and then they've essentially made the money from selling the ticket, but they've also then received the refund, we will be able to refund the ticket holder. That's really interesting, actually, that aspect. And that's something that no one else is doing. No one's even exploring. So we're definitely the first to be going down this route and really addressing those issues.
That really creates a safety net for the original user, and it gives them a solution if they can't go to the concert, and it provides that safety for the person who is buying on the secondary market. So it's really creating a lot of safety nets for everybody.
Exactly. So we've had, when we started this kind of over a year ago, we had lots of conversations with event promoters, ticketing companies, and people within the industry. So that's kind of why we built our ecosystem to address all aspects. Yeah, the end user has to be safe. We need to protect. We've looked to address all the main problems within the industry. And I feel that's what we're building. We are building a solution, and we're building a solution that can be easily integrated within the existing system. So we're not looking to take on the big boys and be a competitor to them. We actually want a competitor to them. We actually want to work with them. So we want to provide a solution for them to use, which will actually improve the industry as a whole. Glastonbury, one of the biggest music festivals in the world, and they've taken a stance to address the issues. And the way they do it, so you have to queue for a ticket to start with. You have to phone up. You can get one ticket per person, and then you get KYC'd by providing an ID. They then print you a lanyard ticket and send it through the post with your name and photo on it. If you can't go, you can't sell that ticket. You have to return it to them for a refund, and they will resell it. So it's a very Web2 way of approaching it and addressing the issues. What we're building is a streamlined version of that and harnessing the power of Web3.
Smart.
Yeah, we think so. And Chris is our CTO, so he's addressing all the technical aspects of everything we're doing and really heading up our development.
Have you issued any NFTs yet?
So in terms of NFTs, we were using the DevNet actually before XLS20 went live. We have created a NFT collection called Revelers, which will be integrated into our platform, which is kind of a membership into our club. It's almost like a VIP access into our wallet. Now, a Reveler will give you kind of ticket upgrades, early access, and lots of other perks, which we can negotiate with the events. And that will be through our rewards platform. So we've actually already released a rewards platform, which will be developed as our ecosystem grows. So using our BPM token and our Reveler NFT, you'll be able to access different offers, rewards, and perks within the rewards platform. So yeah, that's the Revelers NFT. So we feel that they'll be really, like, people kind of throw around the utility word for NFTs all the time, but we actually feel this would be a real life utility, a real world utility for an NFT. It's not just a JPEG, it's actually going to deliver real world utility, hopefully throughout the world, as our system, as our platform rolls out.
Can I jump in? Because we have to make a very clear distinction for anyone listening between how we use NFTs, because we use them in different ways to achieve different things. So we're using NFTs in one way for solving the problems with event ticketing. Okay, the fact that we've got an immutable receipt of purchase that we can control and set elements of control around that. Okay, that's one of the fundamental building blocks of the project. Then you have Revelers, which are also an NFT, but they're a completely different use case of NFTs within our project. And we're using those more for I suppose membership is actually not a bad way of describing them. Essentially, there are 10,000 VIP spots, you could call it, okay? And they will give different elements of utility, which Calvin sort of described around, potential perks that the user might want. The 10,000 essentially membership slots that would be available may sound like a lot, until you consider that in the context of how large this project will be if we achieve, a good level of penetration into the market. Because we won't be onboarding 5,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. For this project to be truly successful, we've got to be talking about millions of users using it, because we have the potential, at least, for every single ticket, for every single event in the world to run through this system. Now, obviously, best case scenario would be fantastic, but even the smallest percentage of the overall global market still is going to rack up into millions of users. Okay, so when you've got a small amount of VIP spaces, and those VIP spaces are essentially related to something which is of genuine value to a user, say a potential for a meet and greet with your favorite artist, which is something that we may potentially be able to negotiate as part of an onboarding process. Well, suddenly, if you're a massive fan of this artist, you're going to want one of these spots. And if there are only 10,000 of them, then suddenly you've got a lot of value created in that collection. And when Calvin was talking about utility, that's kind of sort of, for me, the definition of utility is it's going to deliver you something of real value, tangible value. And to me, I can therefore see a time in the future where, when the ecosystem is fully up and running and you've got millions of users, bearing in mind that the millions of users probably don't even know that they're using the XRP ledger, and most of them won't even care, okay? But they will be without knowing. They will know what a Reveler is, because when they see something that says, oh, you could have the opportunity to have this perk or this benefit, but unfortunately you don't qualify because you're not part of this exclusive club, suddenly a whole sort of market, a secondary market for the resale of those Revelers is going to emerge. And that is a completely separate use case for the way which we use NFTs to solve the ticketing problem, which Calvin's already gone into great detail about. I think it's important that we get a clear distinction between the way in which we're going to use the NFTs, because we are using them in different ways.
What marketplace can we find the Revelers?
On XRP.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So they're minting on XRP.com.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they are now. We released a batch of 2,000 to begin with, and we'll release the rest in due course. As Chris just said, we're looking to onboard not thousands of users, we're looking to onboard millions of users, and they'll be used in the XRPL without even realizing. The way we're building this is almost, as I said, a very kind of Web 2 approach, but harnessing Web 3. Mm-hmm. So the users we're onboarding won't actually even realize they're using blockchain or NFTs in terms of the tickets. Where they will realize is when they want to mint or buy a Reveler to gain these perks. And actually, this is going to be a very nice way to introduce non-crypto savvy users to crypto and to NFTs through this onboarding. So if they want to access these perks and this actual real utility, then they will have to venture into the world of NFTs, as it were. But yeah, we're just trying to make this a very accessible solution. And it's going, and as I said, we're essentially a delivery service. We're a software for the existing systems to use.
The NFT effectively becomes a collectible after it's been used. So it has a completely different utility pre-gig and post-gig, so again, there's every possibility that you might get stuck, you might be lucky to end up holding one of the last tickets that were ever going to happen for your favorite artist. And again, you can see a whole secondary market potentially in the future for those types of things. And not only do you have that option, you also have the potential of the way NFTs can be used, and artists can use those NFTs to have direct relationships with the fans, and what you can do. I mean, Calvin will probably explain some of our ideas around that better, but it does again. It's another way in which NFTs offer us another use case for the ticketing.
Yeah, the way we're building this platform and this ecosystem, really, I mean, it's a lot bigger than what you will see on the front end. The bulk of the work is actually in the back end, which the end user won't actually ever see. But what we're looking to do is really bridge the gap between the artists and the fans, and there's never been a way to do it like this before. So artists could actually reward their fans for loyalty. So they'll be able to see who's been attending all their gigs, and they could almost airdrop them an exclusive track, an early release. And after an event, it's not just the NFT ticket, which could be minted to or exported as a memorabilia piece, but it could even be a clip from the show. It could be a video. It could be anything. It could be the poster artwork. It doesn't have to just be the tickets. There's lots we can do around these digital collectibles, which will actually be exclusive to anyone that's attended or held a ticket for that event. So the journey doesn't actually end when you enter the event. It can go beyond that. And there's actually lots of immersive stuff we could do while they're at the event, because everyone attending will have obviously the BPM Wallet app, and there's lots we can do. There's lots of stuff we can do, and really exciting stuff that we can do using this technology.
Yeah, don't say too much there.
No, I'm trying not to go into too much. We don't want to give away too many more ideas and what we're developing. But you'll see it as we roll this out. You'll see what we're building. It's really exciting stuff. With this technology, it opens so many opportunities, and it really is going to. We say this a lot, but we are looking to revolutionize the live events industry.
Yeah, which wave were you part of?
Four. Last one. The only one we missed wave 3. We missed wave 3, so we didn't have enough time really, because we wanted to make the application really good, to make sure we were successful. So we applied for wave 4, and we were lucky enough to win on our first attempt.
Yeah, congratulations.
But I mean, Chris and Marcus really done the bulk of the work on the grant application. So Chris, do you want to talk about the grants?
Yeah, sure. The grant, it was a very interesting process, and obviously we're very grateful for the award that we were given. That will help to fund our MVP, which is currently now in development. We'll perhaps talk about that in a minute. But in terms of the grant process, it was very interesting. So to begin, I mean, there's no restriction. Anyone can apply, any idea you like. It's down to the judges to determine the validity of your idea, and they encourage everyone to apply, which might account for the one of the things that the community seem to be unhappy about, which is the lack of kind of responsiveness to applications. And I think we also shared in that, you know, we put a huge amount of effort into our application. We spent a lot of time on essentially the code base that we submitted. We put a significant amount of work into our application. We submitted it, hit send, and heard nothing. It felt like an age. Now, at the time, it feels really awful. In hindsight now, having been through the whole process, it's fairly obvious that they are just overwhelmed with applications, and they just don't have the time and resource to be able to go back to every single person that's filled in an application and has applied. However, I can only draw from our experience was we put a lot of effort into our application. It was clearly recognised the amount of effort we put in. And there is then a process you go through once you've essentially made the final stage, which is like an interview stage. So, you know, I think unless you get shortlisted as a potential, essentially you're not likely to ever hear anything back, I don't think. And I think when you go into it, you need to almost be aware that it's potentially a shot in the dark. You've got to put your best foot forward and hope for the best. And if you make your application in interesting enough for them to read more into it and shortlist you, then you get your opportunity to properly present your idea. So I kind of, when we were going through the application, one of the things I found most interesting was how little space there was on the application to put information in. Like, we wrote it all in Word docs and stuff, and we were collaborating on different Google Docs over, we'll take this out, and we ended up having to cut probably 70% of our content away, rewording it, trying to, even as crazy as we've got 12 words in that sentence, anyway, we could shorten it to 8 to say the same thing, and we had to condense it all. Now, again, with hindsight, what that means to me is they want to make you work for it, and they want to make sure that they're not reading reams and reams and reams about hundreds of applications. So, you know, you have to be prepared to put the effort in up front. But as I said, if you do that, make your initial application really snappy, to the point, and get your key messages at the beginning, get their attention, and hopefully when they read that, they go, oh, that sounds interesting. That, you know, the 5 minutes I've just spent reading that has piqued my interest. I'll move that to the maybe pile, as opposed to, you would imagine the majority of applications just being, heard that before, not interested, whatever, you know, and that is how I assume the process goes. And then they end up whittling hundreds and hundreds of applications down to maybe 50, 60, 80, whatever it's going to be. Then I would hope at that point they put more effort in, they think if they really read into what you put, and then you get shortlisted, and then you go through the interview stage, which is a face-to-face. I think we had 4 people on with us, so we had to have, there was people from RippleX, there was a couple of the judges on with us. They asked us a variety of questions. We had to do a technical demonstration. We had to also sort of, like, they didn't want anything pitchy. They specifically said, don't pitch us how brilliant your project is, show us. So we had to go on and actually demonstrate it, and then answer their questions. And then, yeah, we just, then at that point, you just have to sit and wait. And we had our decision very quickly. I think we were obviously, you know, favoured at the beginning. We were on their radar. They just wanted almost due diligence to make sure we were what we would say we were, because we had our decision like that day. Later that day, obviously, not straight away. A few hours later, we had got the decision. And then we're under gag then. We can't say anything to anyone for, it was almost a month. And then we're going on various spaces, and everyone's going on about how they've heard nothing, and everyone's moaning, and we're going, oh no, we can't say. And then you get asked, have you heard anything about yours? I'm like, well, no, not yet. We're still hopeful. It's a really difficult situation that we were put in. But as I say, very, very interesting process. And, you know, if you're successful and you win, extremely valuable. Not only the money, which is always helpful for any project, but, you know, we have access to RippleX dev engineers. And I had a conversation with one of those last week. You know, we were contemplating or different ways in which we could approach a potential issue, and we were looking at different solutions. And I was able to go and explain what we're thinking, and get their feedback on how they thought that they think it should work. And that has enabled us now to come up with a solution which is better. So it's great all round. Like I say, it's not just about the money. And of course, the award comes from the XRP grant and the foundation, which is it's great to have someone like that recognise the project. And yeah, we're really grateful, aren't we, Kelv?
Very valuable.
Yeah, I can have everything you just said.
Valuable information for everybody. It's very interesting, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who have wondered what that process has been like.
And the interesting thing about the process is the process seems to be evolving. From our understanding of it today, from what wave 1 and wave 2 were like, RippleX are clearly evolving the process as well. So, you know, it's an ever-changing ground that you're on, really. It's like I say, interesting is the perfect way to describe it. But there'll be lots of other projects in 10 years' time that are very, very credible in their own right, that don't have anything to do with Ripple, obviously we hope that we will be one of them. And the reality that we could potentially onboard millions of users into crypto using XRPL, that should be celebrated by people within the community. And we should less talk about this court case and more talk about what's actually being built and the reasons why we're building on the ledger, because no one's talking about why we chose the XRP ledger to build on and why, it's an important message. And it's just, all this just gets lost in the noise. So the sooner this court thing is over, the better from my perspective, because it just distracts those of us that are building on the ledger from the most important thing, which is building the utility in the underlying XRP ledger technology.
Gosh, you don't know how strongly I feel what you just said. I'm very thankful that Ripple is providing through Ripple X these grants and nurturing projects. I'm very thankful, very grateful that they do that. But at the same time, you're so spot on. It is really the focus has been, I think, off target.
I am a developer. I've been developing for over 25 years now. But when I got into crypto, it was more just as everybody else does, really, just sort of like a bit of a dabble, put a bit of money in and, oh, it's gone up, very much like that. And naturally, I was drawn more to the technology and the development side of it. So as I've slowly eased into that, my focus has been more around the building side of things. And that has ultimately meant that, the amount of free time I've got now, if I've got free time, I generally would rather spend it building something as opposed to watching the 19th video of the day on the latest update from the SEC court case. Although I will say I always watch anything that Jeremy Hogan puts out because I always find that hilarious. So.
I hope he returns with his wife and does a few more. I hate to see it sunset forever.
Obviously, Weetzer. And so I've got great respect for that guy, and what he's built is amazing. Well, he was the one that got me into the ledger. I mean, when I got, obviously my brother introduced me to XRP, but when I sort of around 2016, 17, but when I really started to look into the tech, he just launched the Tipbot.
Oh, right.
And I DM'd him at that point, and we had conversations on Twitter on and off for many years. And it was at that point, I think it was in 2020, I don't know. At some point in the past, a few years ago, I just got to chatting with him. I was actually in bed ill at the time, and I was just texting anyone for something to do while I was ill. And I got into a conversation with him, and he ended up inviting me to build this feature, which is an XApp, and it helps to. One of the functions some doesn't have is an ability to export transactions. So if you want the transactions for your tax returns, for example, getting them out, unless you're a techie, is actually not as simple as it sounds. You can do it with the tools that exist, but then you've got to get it into the right format. So I basically built an XApp, which is a plugin for Sun. And what it does is it pulls all your transactions into a nice, simple UI and allows you to choose the fields on the ledger that are relevant to you, and export them in a format that's valuable to you. So you could choose a CSV file or a JSON file or whatever is relevant to you. And then you've got the raw data that you can very, very easily take into a third-party application. There are lots of tax tools out there, and you just literally just chuck it all into there and let the tax tool do its job. So that's one of the things, obviously, that I have done for Sun, and other stuff I'm not allowed to talk about. So
that always is fun, possible conversation. I was just in my XApp today. I just want to take a look, and I was taking a look around in there because there's a lot of new things going on inside there. So I'm in there now. So what's your program called? Is it the account? No, okay. Which one?
It's the orange icon. It's Transaction Exporter. or might be TX exporter, depends on your resolution.
Token creator tip bot. Let's see.
It's
Oh,
usually
I see it. It's got a cloud. It's kind of a
that's it.
salmon color with an arrow coming down.
That's it. And you
it.
download your transaction. So you click on that.
Nice.
It basically what it does is it reads the ledger, it reads everything from your address into the X app, and it's kind of like categorizes it all, and then you can filter it all. So if you just wanted to bring back just your payments, or maybe you want your trust lines or whatever you want, you can filter them all. So it's got some functionality outside of its main utility, which is the export. So you can use it to filter stuff and one thing and another. But the key thing is that there's the ability to export, and then you go in and you can choose, do I want it comma separated, do I want it pipe separated, however you want to do it. You choose your format, date range it as well, and just pull it out.
Nice.
And I say it was useful
too. This is tax
it does
time
get
for everybody.
used.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, and it's a fully open source as well. So and I have had a couple of other developers that have contacted me about additional features and could we make it to this. I've made a couple of changes on request. One guy is currently writing a pull request to add an additional function to it. So it'll take on a life of its own, which is as it should be. And I'm all for contributing more to open source and the community where possible. But as I said, I'm not a huge fan of talking about that too much, because like I say, I don't want to ride on other people's successes. So, you know.
The open source is truly the ethos in this space, which is great. I'm glad that you did it that way.
I know we've run out of time, so I would really like to thank you for inviting us onto your channel. We've really appreciated the opportunity to talk a bit about what we're doing, what we're building. And it's also been really lovely to actually meet you face to face, because I've been watching your videos for the longest time.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. We'll touch base with you soon.
Cheers, Eddie.
All right. Bye-bye.